From the globe to a home of unique people of rich soil, culture and tradition. With over 50 million in total, inhabiting the southwestern and north-central region of Nigeria, as well as southern and central Benin, dating back to as far as the transatlantic slave trade, which existed between the 15th to the 19th century. These are the Yoruba people. They are believed to have migrated to other countries as well, including Cuba, Dominican Republic, Brazil, Jamaica, Grenada, Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago, and St. Lucia, among others. The Yoruba people, as an ethnic group, have very rich culture and tradition. The Yoruba people of Nigeria dance to the beats of the bata drum, a signature of the rich culture that brings to the fore the existential nature of the inhabitants of the geographical enclave. They sing praises to offer their gratitude to Oduduwa, a godfather of the land. This is a tribe with a deep story.
What makes a person Yoruba? Some people say it's a language. I don't agree. Anybody who is non-Yoruba can speak Yoruba language. It's not like speaking English. That doesn't make me English. What, in my own opinion, makes a Yoruba person unique is that every Yoruba person has an oriki. So there's the oriki of your community which defines where you are from. And in that community, your place, the place of your family is defined. The oriki of a Yoruba person, of a Yoruba community will tell you about the ancestry. So. Then it will also tell you about the exploits of your ancestors, whether they were hunters or traders or warriors, usually warriors, because war loomed large in the making of the Yoruba society, and so on and so forth. So I think that, let's begin with that if you want to fashion a Yoruba nation, it doesn't have to be a country now, it could be a nation within the Nigerian nation state. But the Yoruba nation actually extends beyond Nigeria, because there are Yoruba-speaking people in Benin, in Togo, who are indigenous of those countries still today. And there are Yoruba survivors in terms of culture, even in terms of traditional language, in Cuba, in Brazil, and some other places in the Caribbean. And therefore, we need to understand that culture is dynamic.
The Yoruba people in Nigeria can be found majorly in Oyo, Osun, Ogun, Kwara, Ondo, Ekiti, Lagos states, as well as parts of Kogi state. And Oduduwa is regarded as the legendary progenitor.
If you want to capture the totality of Yoruba culture, you need to understand the constituent communities in Yoruba land. You need to go beyond Yoruba land to look at those people outside, whether they migrated to those places voluntarily or they were taking their slaves and all that. Then we need to harvest all of these ideas. We need to harvest the individual and collective oriki. We need to look at the cultures and the festivals. We need to look at customs, because there are certain things that are generic, that are specific to Yoruba people. They say, we know that Yoruba people don't do this, Yoruba people don't do that. Of course, you know that the concept of Omoluabi is common. If an ideal Yoruba person is supposed to be an Omoluabi, how we define it may vary, but it talks about character, essentially. It's not about occupation now. It talks about integrity. It talks about knowing your family and upholding the image and the glory of that family, whatever they have done. And it also connotes and denotes solidarity, being your brother's keeper. So if you talk of Yoruba culture, Yoruba society, it is not a single one. It is unity in diversity. But in that diversity, we have certain things cutting across in terms of the pantheon of Orisha, the veneration of ancestors, attachment to lineages, the way we conduct our marriage ceremonies, burial ceremonies, and so on and so forth. Of course, as I said, there are local variations based on where we live. The Yoruba people that live towards the extremity of Yoruba land certainly will come under the influence of neighbors. Those neighbors, of course, will be non-Yoruba people, whether they are Nupe or Bariba or Aja, that is Egun, or whether they are Edo and all that. So we need to understand that Yoruba culture has certain core elements. Yoruba culture also is quite dynamic. The Yoruba culture absorbs ideas, And you'll be surprised that that's some Arabic words have crept into Yoruba. Muadab Seriafun is a Yoruba expression, but the Seria is from Sharia. So Albosa is not a Yoruba word. Albasa is from Arabic. So some Arabic words have come in, obviously because of the diffusion of Islam into Yoruba land. Some expressions in English or in the scriptures of in the Bible have also crept in. And that tells you that the language is so dynamic now that it can absorb, but it also gives out.
Almost every Yoruba settlement traces its origin to princes of Ile-Ife in Osun State, Nigeria. As such, Ife can be regarded as the cultural and spiritual homeland of the Yoruba nation, both within and outside Nigeria.
The point of creation is where it all began. We have several theories, several school of thoughts, but what we know is what we know. The point of creation is at the center, the epicenter of the world. And the epicenter of the world is where the Yoruba people emerged from. And that is the rallying point of the source of the Yoruba people, and that's the source of the entire mankind.
And one philosophy that has brought them together is that of Omoluabi. Omoluabi, the way of human being. Omoluabi connotes respect, and Omoluabi is regarded as a person of honor who believes in hard work, respects the rights of others, and gives to the community in deed and in action. Above all, an Omoluabi is a person of personal integrity.
Being conversant with the concept of Omoluabi means that the person will know the do's and don'ts of the society and made the societal norms. The person will know it. And once you know it, there will be no problem. And all what they were doing then, and up to now, if you are really a Yoruba person, Iwa Omoluabi is very germane. There's nothing you can do without it. And if I may refer you to some excerpts in Ifa literary corpus, Iwa is seen as something that you can't compare anything with. In Obarausa, Ifa says, Ọ̀bẹ̀lẹ̀kẹ́ abojú oró adé fún olóríire ìgbà ìwáṣẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ bá lóríire tí ò níwà ìwà ni ó borí ọ̀hún jẹ́, meaning that even, despite the fact that Yoruba people believe in destiny, they still believe that if you have good destiny and you are bad in terms of character, it will affect whatever you achieve in life.
The late Herbert Ogunde, through his song many years ago, Yoruba Ronu, is still speaking to the very need of proper convergence in ideology, thought, and the application of wisdom in the totality of existence in this unique group of people. But one question that lingers is, have the Yoruba people been able to maximize these mouth-watering features to the fullest? The rich culture, tradition, art, food. Many elders of the Yoruba land have said a lot. This distinguished professor of history believes more needs to be put into developing the geographical landscape called the Yoruba land.
So I think that focus on development. No matter how we define development, the average Yoruba knows what development is. After you know what is happening in village A also wants to be like village B. So there's also competition. And people want to say, okay, if they are built a school, we want to build our own school too. Is there any hospital there also? Let's have our hospital and all that. So that is, I think, the essential thing that drives the average Yoruba person. Now that thing has percolated, I mean, it's been there all over. If you look at it from 19th century, Yoruba people pioneered this idea of sending children abroad to study, and the pioneers in medicine, in law, in the professions, because they saw that that was the way forward, that the world was going to develop along those lines, and therefore they didn't want to be left behind. And today, now look at it, and that has always been an idea that if in southwest Nigeria or any other country, part of Nigeria, if a particular state is doing well, other states want to emulate, that is your true Yoruba spirit.
The Omoluabi is a philosophical and cultural concept that's native to the Yoruba people. It's used to describe a person of good character. The Omoluabi concept signifies courage, hard work, humility, and respect. Another professor of Yoruba takes a cue from how connection to the root is necessary for development.
The problem that can come is that when you don't believe in your own culture, there will be a punishment for it. Adiafun iwondere, iwo, that's hook. Used in fishing. You know, you put baits on it, and when you throw into the river, the fish or fishes in the river, that thing we attract them. They are the people Ifa is talking about. They represent the people Ifa is talking about here. That is, they don't like their own people, but they like other people. Meaning that they are very good in neglecting their own culture, embracing other people's culture. And you know the implication, and you know what happens to any fish that decides to eat the bait. It will be hooked. That's exactly what can happen to somebody who has no regard for his own culture.
The Yoruba people may believe in different political ideologies, but one thing that must form a convergence should be upholding the concept of Omoluabi and connecting to the root of existence as Yoruba people. With a total land area of 142,114 kilometers square, or about the same size as the combined land areas of Greece and Montenegro, of which 106,016 kilometers square, 74.6% in Nigeria, 18.9% in Benin Republic, and the remaining 6.5% in Togo. The geocultural space, which contains an estimated 55 billion people, should have developed far beyond what it is.
Whatever the political differences, let Yoruba people unite around that core area of that core notion of development. Let's agree. And my position has always been that once the elite have a consensus, what do we do? Then if they move forward, people will follow. In Yoruba language, I also want to say, people they know and they follow good leadership.
What is the future of the Yoruba nation?
The destiny of Yoruba people, like other peoples in Nigeria or people across the world, is not entirely in the hands of the Yoruba people themselves. Since we are in a nation called Nigeria, we cannot act in isolation. And therefore, one thing that I think is uppermost, or should be uppermost in the hearts of Yoruba people now, is to work with other Nigerian groups to secure what you call restructuring of the federation. Restructuring means many things to many people, different people, but for the average Yoruba, as I think, it is an idea of having the kind of regional autonomy that will enable us to develop this region.
It is perceived that the Yoruba nation can lead the African continent and perhaps the world If the very leaders, intelligent and brilliant people of the origin, speak with one voice and further uphold, without condition, the concept of Omoluabi.